shit's about to get real. Here we go again. I will never know. This shit's about to get real.
Hello my friend, Scott here representing Youth Potential. As you may have noticed guys, if you follow me on Instagram or have subscribed to my YouTube channel, you may have realised that I've not actually posted anything for a little while. And the reason for that is because I've actually been an inpatient recently for 8 days in the Littlebrook Hospital in Dartford. I'm not going to go into the reasons why I got admitted in the first place. I really appreciate it guys if you were respectful and didn't actually message me or ask me why that was. I know I'm very open and I talk very honestly on social media, but at the moment the wound is still fresh, so to speak, so I don't really want to talk about it at the moment. That time will come. You may make up your own assumptions regardless anyway, and that's fine. So guys, this was my third time as an inpatient. I've not been an inpatient for 10 years. I was 17 last time I was an inpatient. I did that twice in Medway Hospital in Gillingham. They no longer have mental health or psychiatric wards there anymore, so I got admitted to a specialised mental health hospital in Dartford. And I just want to say guys that Littlebrook Hospital, absolutely fantastic. Okay, the staff that work there, generally at least 99% of them, the ones that I interacted with, were really good. They made me feel more like a person most of the time. There were times where I had to be treated a little bit more like a patient than a person, but that was my own doing, so to speak. And yeah, they were really good. And I just want to give a shout out to some of the patients there that I formed a friendship with as well, and without them I would have felt more like a freak, a weirdo, but they made me feel more normal. So big shout out to Jacob, to Vincent, to Dan, to Steve, to Scott, there was another Scott in there, to Graham, and of course Matthew as well. So big shout out to you guys. I felt like I had a bit of a connection, quite a connection actually in there, and you guys you helped me on the journey to recovery. So well done guys, thank you very much, and of course I wish you the best of luck with your own recovery. So anyway, back to the main point of the video. I just want to talk about my experiences from a emotional standpoint, and of course talk about what happened to me. Now I know there are going to be people that are watching this that have had their own experiences as an inpatient, and you could disagree with some of the things I have to say, and that's absolutely fine, because everybody has different experiences, everybody has different reasons as to why they went in there as an inpatient. And of course you can be sectioned to go in there, or you can do it voluntarily and be informal like I was. So anyway, if you guys have your own experiences, please leave comments below. I'd appreciate that. I'd like to read about people's experiences. I find it very interesting and everything. So yeah, please. Cool. Anyway, so I was in there for 8 days, and the first couple of days were a little bit scary, if I'm honest. It is like that, because you go in there, you've got other patients walking around, and you don't know why they're in there. You don't, and not knowing is quite scary. You don't know if they've been a danger to themselves or to other people, and it's kind of that uncertainty that makes you really anxious. And it did for me. I felt very anxious the first day. The first day I was in there, I barely said a word to anyone, barely came out my room. I only came out my room for lunch and for dinner. I didn't have breakfast because I'd been admitted and got to bed at like 4 o'clock in the morning. So in the ward that I was in, Pinewood, there was it was like an L shape, and at either end was wards to the female area and the male bedrooms. There was a dining area, there was a lounge, and there was a TV room, which is where nearly every single person was spending their time throughout the day. We weren't allowed. There was a garden sort of area which we were allowed out certain times of the day, and depending on the reason for people's admission, constituted whether someone was allowed out as in off the grounds for a little bit of time or not. So if you're sectioned, your leave, so to speak, is quite limited, and it's usually escorted as well. If you're informal like me, then I was allowed out sort of every hour, more or less, for a cigarette break, or to pop to the shops locally or whatever. So I was lucky. I was actually had a little bit more freedom than the people that were sectioned. So yeah, the first day I didn't really do anything. I just stayed in my room, sat on my windowsill, just kind of looking out the window, listening to my music, and I felt really miserable. I felt highly anxious because I didn't know how long I was going in there. You know, when you go in, they don't generally tell you how long you're going to be in there. So I could have been in there for a month, I could have been there for a week, I could have been a few days. I just didn't know, and not knowing really drives my anxiety, and I hate it. So also on admission, they took my belt. They would have taken my shoelaces, but I was wearing Vans slip-on shoes, so I didn't have any laces. But I saw some other patients with laces on their trainers. They actually got confiscated as soon as they came in. I wasn't allowed any deodorant in my room, any kind of real sort of like anything with corners, realistically. My notebook got taken because it had a hard case, hard outer pages, if you like. So yeah, they're very careful in what they actually allow patients in their room. So my room had a just simple room, bed, shelves, bathroom, that kind of stuff, windows that only open that much. So it did feel kind of really claustrophobic in there at first. I was really scared. I had no idea what the other patients were like, and because I suffer from anxiety, I just wanted to just stay in my room because I just kind of knew that I felt safe in there. And the door's locked. The only way you can get into these rooms is with like a little key fob, so no one could just walk in there, and that made me feel a lot safer. So on the second day, I was still really anxious, still really nervous. I didn't know what was going on. I had mental health nurses come and visit me in my room and tell me what kind of occupational therapy sessions were going on throughout the day, asking me how I was and all that kind of stuff. If you guys don't know what occupational therapy is, it's like something that you can do outside of the ward, sometimes inside the ward, just little activities, self-care, well-being kind of things, recreational activities, just a bit of fun really. So it's just kind of trying to merge you into that normality, if you like. So sometimes they do art therapy sessions, music therapy, watching movies, self-care, so like kind of like we use cosmetic products or skincare products, that kind of thing. I did smoothie making as well, that was really fun. So yeah, just kind of normal things like that. And if you are ever become an inpatient, I really recommend that you throw yourself in and get involved in these occupational therapy activities. They are so important, and they do make you feel normal. They do just kind of give you a little bit more of a confidence boost and make you feel less of a freak or a monster or whatever. I engaged in as many as I possibly could. I had one where we were discussing about the voices that we hear in our heads, which is something that I also suffer from sometimes, and that was a really interesting meeting, just to kind of see what everyone else, their experiences was. But it's not easy to talk about, but I think occupational therapy is highly important. So yeah, definitely get involved in those. So by the end of like the second day, I was feeling really thirsty. There was a coffee station in the TV lounge, and that's where everyone was. I felt really nervous, but I thought, do you know what, I need to kind of start coming out of my room. Where I'd been an inpatient before, I knew that trying to merge myself in and talk to the other patients had more of a benefit than a detriment to my recovery. So I went in the TV lounge. It's like this long kind of narrow room. There's a TV at one end, and then all the comfy chairs are just kind of facing towards it. I went in there. There was about 5 kind of people in there. Started making myself a coffee at this little on this little trolley. And then I heard the guys talking, and they started talking about music, which is obviously something I'm very passionate about. And I just thought, oh, you're talking about, and they were talking about all different types of dance music, like dubstep, drum and bass, house, techno, trance. And then that's their genres of music that I really like. So I just turned around and went, oh, you like these types of music, do you? And they were like, yeah, do you like it, Scott? They knew my name already. And then I just got my coffee, went over, sat next to them, started talking about it. And before I know, I'm sparking up conversations with these guys. Vincent, the guy I mentioned earlier, I was sitting next to him, started talking about movies and interests like that. And he told me he was into like his anime because he noticed my Pokemon tattoo. And yeah, it was just really nice. For the first time that I'd been there in nearly 48 hours, I actually felt really, really normal, and it was fantastic. Just having this conversation and just forgetting about all the shit that was in my head. You know, all my bad feelings, my anxiety. My anxiety just kind of started to fade away. I felt less depressed because I was just felt normal for talking to someone about normal things, my interests and their interests, and getting to know people. You know, it's really important when you're an inpatient. Okay, I think talking to the other patients, if you can find common ground, it's so beneficial for your recovery. And while you're in there, it can really help with the emotional struggles or the mental struggles that you're feeling. It did for me. Just talking about normal things made me feel so much better. Okay guys, I'm going to pause this for a minute because we're going to go over to part 2 now, okay? Make sure you go to part 2.